Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the 2024 presidential election and a scenario if Kamala Harris chose Josh Shapiro as her VP nominee. And I'm not picking a random person to be her nominee. I'm picking the person that has the highest or most likely chance or probability according to Polymarket to be Kamala Harris's vice president. Because as of right now, Josh Shapiro has the best chance out of any other candidate to be Harris's VP. He is currently at 37%, and the person coming in second place behind him is going to be Mark Kelly, who is the senator of Arizona. And if, believe it or not, the top two choices, both Josh Shapiro and Mark Kelly to be Kamala Harris's VP, comes from a swing state. They come from a battleground state, one from the Rust Belt and one from the Sun Belt. So Kamala Harris really has to, choose her cards wisely. Does she want someone from the Rust Belt or the Sun Belt? In my opinion, she should go with someone like Josh Shapiro because she comes from, obviously, California. That has nothing to do with the Rust Belt. And Donald Trump chose J.D. Vance, who comes from that Rust Belt, I would say, region. And so to balance things out, obviously, I would say Josh Shapiro is the best option. It would give that home state advantage, especially in a key important battleground state, tipping point state like Pennsylvania, which can really decide this election. He is the governor here, and he got a lot of Republicans to vote for him in the 2022 midterms, not just in the independents and Democrats, but I believe a third of Republicans actually turned out to vote for him instead of Doug Mastriano, and he's more of the moderate Democrat, I should say. And then you have some other candidates, Andy Bashir coming in third place at 15%, and then you have Pete Buttigieg at the very least of this list. And so, but before we get started with the map, make sure you guys are subscribed, click the bell so you don't miss any of my content, press the like button, give this video a thumbs up, and we have memberships. You can find a link to that in the description section if you are interested. So in this video, I'm going to be filling out the electoral map in a scenario if Josh Shapiro is Kamala Harris's VP pick, I shall say. So let's start off with some of the, I would say, typical likely Trump states, now moving into the solid red column. I would say Iowa is now solid red for Donald Trump. Ohio is going to be likely. Now, a poll showed Donald Trump up by 18 points in the state of Iowa. It's a highly rated pollster, so that's probably going to happen. He should get double digits in this state for 2024. Comfortable, solid margin of over 10 percentage points. I also do think that Florida is now going to be likely for Donald Trump. And then you have a state like Texas will also be likely for the former president. I think Cuban Americans, specifically in the state of Florida, are really shifting towards the right. Miami-Dade County flipped from blue to red in the midterms for Ron DeSantis. And then as for Texas, obviously you have a major border crisis. And on the issue of immigration, Kamala Harris basically is terrible on that issue. That's a losing issue for her, and immigration is a winning issue for Donald Trump. At least it's not for Kamala Harris, though. And then as for Colorado, I do think now this is a safe blue state. I think Colorado's solid blue for Kamala Harris, especially if she does pick someone like Josh Shapiro. I think that would be the strongest ticket for her. This state's actually getting bluer. And then you have New Mexico, which Albuquerque is a Democratic stronghold county. It's really hard for Trump to overcome the votes in there. There's a lot of white liberals, and I just think New Mexico would go to Vice President Kamala Harris by a margin of somewhere in between 7 to 10 percentage points. Obviously, a likely comfortable margin. And now we're going to be moving on to actually one more likely state. I do think New Hampshire is now going to be likely for Kamala Harris, especially if she picks Josh Shapiro. I think he can do well with college-educated voters, which, as we all know, New Hampshire is a very college-educated voter state. And so I think Josh Shapiro would be strong among that specific voting block. I'm not sure Kamala Harris would be good among college-educated voters, but I believe Josh Shapiro would, and it will really enhance her ticket to be that strong. So New Hampshire would go to Harris, in my opinion, by 5 to 6 points in this scenario if she ends up picking Josh Shapiro as her VP, in which, in my opinion, is 10 times better than someone like J.D. Vance. I believe J.D. Vance is a mistake, and I would not have picked that if I was Donald Trump. And I also do think that Minnesota is going to be likely for Kamala Harris. I think she can really drive turnout among the women vote. I think that'll be key for her, as well as Minneapolis and the suburbs in Minnesota are really trending towards the left. The state is getting bluer. And now we actually do move on to the lean states for both of these candidates. Starting off with Donald Trump, I think North Carolina is going to be lean for him no matter who the VP is for Harris. I don't think that's going to really sway much in this state, especially unless it's someone like Roy Cooper, who, by the way, withdrawed, so he's officially not going to be Kamala Harris's VP. I believe he wants to run for 2026, so that's not going to happen. So regardless of who Harris VP is, North Carolina is going to be lean for Donald Trump. And I believe at this point in time, that's the only lean state for him if this was the scenario, realistically, Josh Shapiro as the VP. But if he's not, obviously this map would be completely different. And then the lean states for Kamala Harris is going to be Pennsylvania, guys. Pennsylvania, in my opinion, would go to Kamala Harris if she ended up picking Josh Shapiro. She'd probably win the state by somewhere in between 1 to 2 percentage points. I believe she will be able to flip Erie County, run up the numbers in Sedgwick County, as well as, have skyrocket turnout in some of these stronghold Democratic counties like Philadelphia and the Pittsburgh suburbs. The suburbs are very important on what can actually decide who wins this election, especially if she picks Josh Shapiro. And like I said earlier, as her VP, that obviously the VP has a home state advantage, and Josh Shapiro comes from Pennsylvania. He's the governor here, and he had overwhelming support from Republicans, and he's not even a Republican against against Doug Mastriano in 2022. And so he has that home state advantage, and it's a battleground state. It's a swing state. So this is when electorally this really benefits or boosts Kamala Harris electorally, especially with the popular vote as well. And I also do think that the state of Virginia is going to be likely, as well as Pennsylvania, for Vice President Kamala Harris. I think she can do better in the rural areas, rural parts of Virginia, if she picks Josh Shapiro as the VP. I think she would win this state by probably 4 to 5 percentage points. The latest poll has her up by 3, but if she chooses Shapiro, I think her numbers will only increase and rise. And now, moving on to the tilt states before we end off this video, I do think that the tilt states for Donald Trump is going to be Georgia, Arizona, as well as a state like Nevada, Wisconsin, some of these Rust Belt states, and Michigan. Regardless if Josh Shapiro is the VP or not. Starting off with Michigan, obviously you have 100,000 people voting uncommitted due to the fact what's happening with Gaza, obviously, and pro-Palestinian protests. And if you did not know already, Josh Shapiro is basically anti-Palestinian protests. He is Jewish himself, and that's not going to go well. That's not going to resonate with Michigan voters, in my opinion. Now, I do believe that he does have a Rust Belt appeal to some of these voters, the blue-collar workers, college-educated voters, the hard-working class, the middle class. I think all those things, all those factors really does well for someone like Josh Shapiro. But in Michigan specifically, I think he would do better in Pennsylvania, obviously, and he would do better in Wisconsin. But not Michigan is because you have a large uncommitted vote. Obviously, 100,000 people voted uncommitted in the Democratic primaries. And he is very pro-Israel, and I don't think that's going to go well with some of those Palestinian protests. I just don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to help him, and I think that can actually hurt Kamala Harris's ticket. And so Donald Trump would win Michigan by probably under a percentage point, in my opinion, at best. And then you have Wisconsin, which this state was the reddest Rust Belt state in 2020 and in 2016, and I believe with the Obama era as well, Wisconsin did vote to the right of Michigan and Pennsylvania, both of them. And so, considering that Donald Trump only needs to flip 20,000 voters, which is the margin Biden won this state by, 0.6%, which is actually less than Donald Trump's margin in this state in 2016. So I do think he can do better in Green Bay. He would have skyrocket turnout. And if Kamala Harris does not have in par, I would say, go in line with Joe Biden's turnout in Milwaukee, which Milwaukee is the only reason why Biden won the state, and also he won Door County, which I expect Trump to flip Door County. I don't think Kamala Harris is going to win Wisconsin at the end of the day, no matter who the VP pick is. And then you have Arizona, obviously another border state, just like Texas. Immigration is a losing issue for Kamala Harris. She can't address it whatsoever. And on average, Donald Trump is up in Arizona by 5 to 6 points, according to RCP, over Kamala Harris. So I just don't think she's going to win this state. And I believe Trump will flip Maricopa County. Ultimately, this state's going to come down to Maricopa. It's extremely important, only once divided by 2 points. I believe Trump would flip it because of that important issue. And then obviously you have the independents, you have the undecided voters, you have the Mitt Romneys of Arizona, you have the rhinos, the establishment, you have the McCains of Arizona that really despise someone like Trump. But a lot of them went to Biden in 2020, but I think they will return back to Trump in 2024 just like they did in 2016 because Kamala Harris is just that bad of a candidate. And if she does pick Josh Shapiro, maybe a lot of them would go to Kamala just because of that factor, but I'm not sure it's going to really make a difference. You could say that the VP pick is basically an overrated position. And then you have Nevada, in which I expect Trump to flip Washoe County, as well as, I would say, perform better than where he did in 2020 in Clark County, the Vegas area. But I think the Vegas area is where Kamala can do better. But still, the state's a red, trendy state, and the state's only going to get redder over time. And so I believe Trump can perform better among Hispanic voters. That will be key to his victory, and I think he can do exactly that. So 293 electoral votes for Donald Trump to Kamala Harris's 245 if she does pick Josh Shapiro as the VP. I think the only important swing state she's going to hold on to is Pennsylvania. Other than that, everything else is going to flip. That went to Biden previously just 4 years ago, back in 2020. So let me know your thoughts on the map. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on the map in the comment section down below. One last final reminder to subscribe, click the bell so you don't miss out on my content, press the like button, give this video a thumbs up, and we have memberships. Don't forget, you can find a link to that in the description section if you are interested. That's pretty much it. Thank you everyone for watching.